Okay, sorry guys. All right, so I just asked everyone how long do you think it will take someone to learn all of the math that they need from kindergarten through 12th grade based on the responses that I've gotten from other unschoolers. And I've got a day, a year, 3 years, a few months, a year, 2 years, 1 year, a few months. So the most common response that I got, every unschooler that I interviewed said that they learned all of the math that they needed from kindergarten through 12th grade in 2 to 6 months. And the most common answer that I got was 3 months. That was the most common answer. So literally, they've learned all the math that they needed from kindergarten through 12th grade in 6 months or less. And that is without ever having any ounce of force or coercion. So you literally never have to sit with your kid and fight over doing a math worksheet. You don't have to do any of that. All right. Someone said, how did they learn math? So this is something that's really important to remember. If a skill has not shown up in your child's actual life, in their real life, they don't need to know it yet. I know that's a really, really hard thing for us to get because we're so taught that we have to like force ourselves to learn all these skills that we aren't actually using in our real life. I don't know about you, but I have never had to graph a quadratic function in the last, 15 years of my life. I have not had to do that. So yeah, but we don't have to do that. We don't have to do that at all. All right, hold on one second. Let me go back and try to catch up on these questions. All right. Okay, someone asked about testing. Okay, so every state has different requirements for testing. I live in Maryland, and actually, let me show you guys real quick. If you are not familiar with your state's homeschooling laws, I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right, so if you want to learn about your state's homeschooling laws, you're going to go to HSLDA laws by state, or you could type in your state's name, and you're going to click on that option here, hslda.org/legal. And I love this little map here. It's a really great picture of our whole country here. And you can see the states that are in red are the states that have the highest regulation, or they're the most difficult to homeschool in or unschool in. Unschooling is legal in all 50 states, but again, some states are much easier than others. So if you're in a red state, I am so sorry. It is very challenging to be an unschooler there, but you can do it. And we can meet one-on-one, and I'll talk you through kind of how you can do it in those states. All the way to states like Texas, where you can see here, Texas is green, Alaska, Oklahoma, these are all green, which means they require no notice or very low regulations. I'm in Maryland. I'm in a light blue state. We have low regulations. So you can click on this for whatever your state is, and then read whatever those requirements are for your state. So some states do require testing, others don't. Another option, so technically unschooling falls under the homeschooling statute. So unschooling is a type of homeschooling, and so you can operate as a homeschooler if you choose. The other option, which I am super excited to be able to offer to people, is my private school that I actually just started in. We just got our approval in June 1st, and we're going to be launching this fall. So the school that I started, it's called Pax Academy, and Pax Academy is a registered private school. So rather than being homeschool students, your children would be considered legally private school students. And by being a legal private school student, in most cases, that will fulfill the compulsory attendance requirements for your state. And so they would not be considered a legally homeschooled student. Now, that being said, there are a few states where they do consider like homeschool with, like, if you're not physically attending the school, they do consider that to be homeschooling, like if you're doing the schooling at home. So you have to check on the laws and the regulations in your state. All of that is included in here. And you can also do like a Google search for your state's laws about private schools, and you can see that as well. But for almost all of the states, you can register in Pax Academy, and you won't have to worry about any of the homeschooling laws at all. You can also still register in Pax Academy and also follow the homeschool process in your state as well. And the benefit of doing that would be that your children would have a transcript and a diploma from a registered private school, as opposed to a homeschool or a parent issued transcript and diploma. A parent issued diploma is totally fine. You do not need to attend any private school to be able to unschool your kids and have them go on to college successfully. They don't have to attend a private school. But some colleges, that transition is a lot easier because they're a registered private school that they're attending. So then you don't have to jump through all the hoops of proving everything that they learned, because they're getting a transcript from a private school. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to start it. I I wanted to be able to make unschooling as easy for you guys as possible, so you don't have to worry about things like testing. All right, thank you, Yvonne, for asking that question. Aaron said, how do we still meet the state's homeschooling requirements like a portfolio? Okay, so yes, in Maryland, the state that I live in, if you're a homeschooler, you do have to have a portfolio. Again, if you're a private school student, you don't have to have a portfolio. So you only have to meet the requirements that your state has. And again, by registering in a private school in Pax Academy, you don't have to have a portfolio. If you choose to do that, then you can. With portfolio requirements, there are ways that you can do a portfolio even as an unschooler. So that would look like for me, I document a lot of what we do just through pictures, videos, things like that. You can do that. If they're doing art, you can like save it in a, in a binder or something like that. You can take a journal. There are lots of different ways that you can, gather a portfolio. Of course, my preference is to have the government and have other people out of your educational experience as much as possible, because you as the parents have the right to educate your children in the way that you desire. And so that's one of the reasons why, even though I'm in a state that requires a portfolio, I work with, and I used an umbrella, which is like a type of supervision. So I used an umbrella that didn't require a portfolio for us. Or like I said, being a student in Pax Academy, we don't require any kind of portfolio or anything like that. Of course, you're welcome to do one if you want to, but we don't have any of those requirements. You really are free to do what you guys love and enjoy. Rhonda said, do we turn in a portfolio at the end of the year? I just answered that one. No portfolio. Stacy said, what's the name of the podcast? My podcast is called the Peaceful World Schooling Podcast. Another podcast that was such a huge impact for me when I was learning about unschooling was the Exploring Unschooling podcast. If you're not familiar with that one, I highly recommend that you check it out. Exploring Unschooling podcast. That's Pamela Riccia's podcast. And she does a podcast every Thursday, and she has conversations with people specifically about unschooling. And her podcast was so helpful for me to hear all these different people, different, races, socioeconomic backgrounds, countries in the world, background. I mean, just literally everything, the whole gamut, big families, small families, single parent families, and how all of them were sharing in their experiences about unschooling. It was such an inspiration for me to hear all these other families and how they were living out this educational freedom and how their lives were just full of, joy and peace and connection and all these things that I so deeply desired for my family and for my kids. And so that was really helpful. And then my podcast is the Peaceful World Schooling Podcast, which is very similar to hers, but mine focuses not only on unschooling, but also on peaceful parenting. So kind of the marriage of the two, because I started out as pursuing peaceful parenting, and then really thought, okay, how do I apply these principles of kindness and gentleness and respect and autonomy and freedom when it comes to my child's education? And for me, that looks like unschooling. So my podcast talks about both of those things. All right, let me check in the comments here. If by chance unschooling doesn't work out because your child wants to go back to school, will it be difficult to get them back into their appropriate grade? No. So if you unschool, states typically go based on their age. So this is how we get even kids who are through the school system. They just kind of pass them along, whether they know the content or not. I can't tell you how many seniors I've had that are 17, 18 years old and cannot read at all, and yet somehow they made it through the system. So if a child is homeschooled and they decide they want to go back to school for whatever reason, they absolutely can go back to school. And I will say there are many unschoolers that do choose to go to school. So being an unschooler doesn't mean that you don't do school or you don't do anything that looks like school. The difference is that the child is the one that's choosing it. And that's a really powerful distinction, because when our children have the freedom to choose powerfully what they're going to do, they have that buy-in and they have that intrinsic motivation to work hard, because it's something that they're choosing for themselves rather than something that's being forced upon them, that they're like, oh gosh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. This is miserable. So a lot of unschoolers do choose to go to school. A lot of them do choose to go to school, especially when they get to high school. Sometimes they might want to choose to do that, and that's totally fine. You can still be an unschooler and go to school. So yeah, that's another kind of important distinction as well. But yes, so if they take a break and want to go back, they'll just put them in whatever grade that they would have been in as if they had never left. I've done this in transition. Oh, someone answered and said, I've done this in transition and my daughter transitioned well. She is not a strong reader and was a bit behind, but was able to catch up and now going into 5th grade. Awesome. All right, will Pax Academy have apps for the kids to do? So we don't have apps per se, but I do have a list of all of my favorite apps and tools and websites and all this different stuff that kids can use. And I'm also working on designing. I have a couple courses already. So I have like a typing program that I offer. The typing program is called a reading and typing program. So it teaches children how to type through using phonics and spelling patterns. So I have that's available, and that's on my website now. So they can sign up for that. And then, of course, as a school, I'm looking into getting some different kind of like school discounts for different programs so that they'll have access to like coding websites or math websites or things like that. If they want to use those resources, they will have those available to them. But there are literally hundreds of free websites and resources. One of the big ones, just off the top of my head, is Khan Academy. That's a really big one. YouTube is a great way to find free videos on everything. I do not know of a single teacher that is not using Khan Academy or YouTube in their classrooms. So you have access to the same resources that teachers, professional teachers have and are using too. So yes, I'll have that. How do you meet the state requirements? So yeah, so like I said, that varies state by state. If you want to share like your specific state or have a conversation about your specific state's requirements, I do private consultations. And so we could talk like individually about what that would look like for your specific state. Or you, like I said, by registering in a private school like Pax Academy, you don't have to worry about the homeschooling requirements of your state in most cases. All right, how about writing? Oh, this is a great question. How do you unschool with writing? This is something that is really that's something that's really near and dear to my heart because I'm an author. I love to write. I love encouraging kids to write. Some things that I did to encourage my daughter to write is we actually got, let me see if I can find the link and send it to you guys. Hold on. We got a 3-year journal on Amazon. And let me see if I can find the one that I got. I'm going to put it in the chat for you guys. Give me 1 second. So you can have that. And actually, let me share my screen so you can see what I'm looking at too. So this is something that I used with my daughter and we loved it. So this is called Q&A a day for kids. And so it's a 3-year journal, which is really cool. And it basically asks them one question every day for 3 years. We've used this. My daughter's actually just finishing it. And so as she's finishing this journal, it's been really cool for her to kind of see how her writing has improved over time. So at the beginning, when we first started it, she was like 5 years old. And so like she could write, a word or a couple of words, something like that. And then now she's able to write in complete sentences. And so it's really cool to just see that. And this is really nice, authentic practice. It's something that matters to her, that she enjoys because she's answering questions about herself. And they have silly questions and serious questions and profound questions and kind of get to know you questions, all kinds of questions that they get to answer. And it really is a great memory book too. That being said, not a lot of the questions, but there were many questions in this book that just didn't apply to us because we were unschoolers. So they ask a lot of questions about school and about friends at school and about subjects in school and things like that, stuff that we just, doesn't apply, like I said. And so because of that, actually this year in the fall, I'm actually releasing my own 3-year journal. And it's going to be a very similar style, but specifically for unschoolers. So none of the questions about school, and I'll ask questions that are specific to us as unschoolers about life learners and things like that, and what we enjoy learning about without having all these other questions about school. So stay tuned for that. That will be coming in November this year. So you'll be able to, order right before the holidays, and then you can start it for the new year. So that's one thing that we did. Another thing that we did also for writing was we used a 2-way journal. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but a 2-way journal is basically, it's like a composition notebook that you make, and it's a journal between you and your child. And I absolutely love doing this. And it's a really special thing where basically like you're able to write letters back and forth between your child, and you can decorate the journal and pick a cool place to put it. And Yeah. And so when you have a two-way journal, like you basically just write letters back and forth. And so that was another really great way to like encourage writing between us. And it was, again, natural, authentic communication. And then the last way is by having pen pals. And actually in the fall, I'm going to be coordinating that. So any kids that would like to take part in having a pen pal, I'm going to be organizing that so that you'll have a pen pal that they could write letters to. And again, having that natural exposure to be able to connect with kids in other countries and write letters with kids in other countries and get to know them and things like that. So that's something I'll be organizing again for the fall. Let me see. Are the programs included with signing up with Pax? Yes. So when you sign up with Pax Academy, it includes like your enrollment, and there are some programs that are going to be included, but like some of the courses are additional, they're optional that you can take. And I'll send all of that in the in your welcome packet. You'll see all of that. So there again, I'm providing, there's a bunch of free resources, but then there are other resources as well that will have like an additional cost. What would a typical day look like for a second grader? That totally depends on what your second grader is interested in. So I'm actually helping to unschool another friend of mine, and you know, her and my daughter, they're really close friends, but they're really different. So the things that my daughter wants to do during the day are very different than what her daughter wants to do. Her daughter is really interested in like painting and drawing and things like that. So she does a lot of that. She also really enjoys nature, so she's outside a lot. And I plan, you know, when she comes over, I normally plan activities where we can go to nature centers, or we're going, you know, on hikes or something like that, that really kind of feed her. On the flip side, my daughter is more of a homebody, so she loves to be at home. She loves doing art and graphic design on her iPad, so she's typically doing that more than like manual, you know, on paper or whatever. So it really does depend what your child is interested in, and what they like to do. Oh, so, Stacey asked, what does Pax enrollment include? So when you enroll in Pax Academy it's $350 a year for one student, or $600 a year for up to 5 students. And that can include adults. I've had a couple parents ask me, they're like, oh, I want to get my diploma too. I don't have my high school diploma. Can I get mine? Yes. If you're a parent and you need a high school diploma, we can help graduate you as well. So the Pax enrollment, when you enroll, you'll get an enrollment letter from me that lets people know, yes, my child is enrolled in this private school. The other thing that you will get is a teacher verification letter, and this is a really cool thing. So when you enroll in Pax Academy, you'll get a teacher verification letter because you are a teacher with Pax Academy. You are the one who is primarily teaching your child, or responsible for teaching your child. And so by teaching with Pax Academy, you will get all the benefits of being a teacher, which means like I've been able to get into museums for free. I've been able to get Canva. I use Canva for free because I'm a teacher. I've lots of things. Lots of museums, a lot of places give teacher discounts. So I'll give you that as well. You'll also get a student and a teacher ID. So you'll be able to get the template so you can add in your pictures there and use it, you know, your student and teacher ID. And then you'll also get a free consultation with me, like I said, where we'll be able to talk together and make a plan specific and unique to your child, to your needs, to your, you know, the things that you want to do, and really create with you the ideal educational experience and environment for your child and for you. Will you be offering the discount from Pax Academy again? I might offer another one in the future. I don't have anything planned for right now. It just ended on June 23rd. But I might offer another one in the future. We'll see. All right. Yvonne said mental health availability. I'm not sure what that means. If you could message a little bit more and help me understand.
Right now, a lot of our kids, well, you hear on the news and every day, which is why I'm listening to your cast now, because I'm very worried. And I happen to be a therapist. So
great.
does the school offer any sort of groups amongst kids? If you need to talk to a therapist, my daughter would love you. Is there anything like that offered? Or
so I'm not a mental health professional. I definitely believe if your child, you know, needs to see a mental health professional, they should absolutely do that. I do want to provide opportunities though for the kids to be able to kind of connect with me. Especially like when your kids are younger, it's a little bit different. And should definitely be connecting with kids like in real life. So I'll teach you how to look for, homeschooling groups in your area on Facebook. That's probably one of the best ways to find homeschooling groups in your area, or connect with other unschoolers in your area, things like that. I'm trying to think, but when it comes to like the older kids, a lot of them sometimes will want like help working one-on-one. So I offer like private tutoring. If kids are interested in maybe doing like a virtual meetup or something like that, I would totally be open to doing that too. Again, the whole point of unschooling is that collectively we're creating what we want as a community. So if that's something that your kids want, then by all means, like talk with me and we'll create it. So yeah. Do they have to do standardized testing in Pax Academy? No, we don't have any testing at all. We don't have any testing at all unless there's testing that you and your child want to do. If your child wants to test, by all means test them. But I have not yet met a child who has said, please test me. But yeah, it's totally up to you. If you want to do testing, you can, but no, we don't require that. What is the deadline for enrollment? There is no deadline for enrollment. You can literally enroll any day. We have open enrollment all year long. Yeah, so you can, share with your friends and let them know they're welcome to, enroll now for the upcoming school year. If they start school in September and they're like, oh my gosh, I hate this, this is awful, they can leave in September and join Pax Academy and not have to deal with any of stress, anxiety, peer pressure, bullying. Like they don't have to deal with any of that stuff anymore. Most colleges want to see SAT scores. How will we meet that requirement as unschoolers? Great question. Actually, this is becoming an increasingly less common requirement. So a lot of colleges now are actually transitioning to being test blind. And it's very interesting. I feel like they're starting to realize that standardized testing really doesn't measure as much as we would like for it to. And so it's becoming less and less of a requirement. But if your child wants to take the SAT, or they're wanting to attend a college that is requiring the SAT, then they would take that. And they would do some kind of test prep to be able to study for that. Personally, I use study.com. So study.com offers like test prep and things like that. And if they're needing one-on-one help with that, I'm more than happy to help them. Like I said, I offer private tutoring and I give majorly discounted rates to homeschoolers. So they're able to do that. Yeah. So, and again, once they're ready to make that transition to college, we'll meet together and we'll talk about the plan as far as like preparing a transcript that shows all of the incredible experiences that they've had and all the uniqueness that they are and all the amazing things that they're going to offer to the university. Colleges typically absolutely love unschoolers. And the reason for that is unschoolers are extremely highly intrinsically motivated because no one is forcing them or coercing them to do anything. They're literally doing what they love every day. They know who they are. They know what they're interested in. They know what their goals are. And they know that if they're going to college, they're going there because it's something that they're choosing. So they're fantastic students. There's another unschooler on TikTok. Her name is Skylar. She's amazing. I highly encourage you to follow her. She shares about her life as a grown unschooler, and she's actually getting a master's degree. And there's so many grown unschoolers. You can actually, let me see, I'm going to share my screen again. There's a website here called grownunschoolers.com. And if you go to grownunschoolers.com, I highly encourage you to go through, check out this website, and you can see like these kids, they go to college. This is another one that went to college. Here's another one that went to college. Some of them say career. This one is another college. Oh gosh, they all went to college. Hold on. There are kids on here that were unschooled that did not go to college. Oh, this whole first page looks like college. Okay. Eventually, if you scroll through, you'll find some ones that didn't go to college, but you can read through their experience about kind of how they tell their story about how they went from being an unschooler to going to college and making that transition and how they did it. There are many different ways that you can do it. And part of my job is helping to make that transition be as easy as possible. And so, yeah, they absolutely can do it. All right, let me see any other questions. Is there any way to get help getting an iPad or a laptop of sorts for kids to use for online work? That is a great question. There are a lot of programs out there that offer like help for, especially for like low-income families, gosh, I can try to see, but yeah, if you look for like there are people that give grants, there are companies that do that as well. I know Apple has given away iPads and stuff like that sometimes, so you can always do that. I'll try to see if I can find some that might be willing to do that specifically for Pax Academy. But yeah, there you just kind of got to do some digging. But yes, there are companies and people that do help with providing technology for kids. Another way that they could do it too is actually going to their library. I don't know if you know this, but your library has tons of resources. And our library actually gives away like laptops to kids. I don't know about iPads. I haven't asked about iPads, but they actually like gave us a laptop. So yeah, we had to like register, and they gave my kids a Chromebook, so I mean it's a little one, but it's a Chromebook and it works. So yeah, so both of my kids got a free computer, through the library, and yeah, I would talk to them. Let me see. What qualifies for senior courses to graduate? I have a senior and he's doing summer school now because he didn't score well. Oh my goodness. Okay. So when you are graduating as an unschooler, it is totally different than when you are going through school, right? So when you go through school, you have to kind of, they give you all these courses that you have to take and you have to score and all of that stuff. But when you're an unschooler, it's not like that. When you really have the freedom to decide when you're ready to graduate, there is no like schedule or timeline, or like there's no one saying, oh, you have to take this course and graduate. It really is in connection and collaboration with you as the parent, collaborating and connecting and talking with your child, and really having them becoming an integral part of deciding when they're going to be finished with high school and when they want to move on to college. So if your kid scored poorly in a class, they don't have to do it again. You really have the freedom to give them the grades that you want. And that could be something as simple as, if they want to actually do the course and do the work, they can. I've worked with kids. I find math is the hard one. Most kids like really want to have that one-on-one help with math in particular to prepare them for college. When I have taught kids math one-on-one, they finish the entire year of math. We finished it in like 6 weeks or less. So if they want to work with me one-on-one and actually learn the content with me, when they're learning it one-on-one with a tutor, they learn it quickly, they learn it easily, and we can kind of skip over a lot of the fluff and really get to the meat and potatoes of the math that they really need to know. And we just kind of move through it and teach them the stuff that they need to know and move on. So they can do that, but again, they don't have to do that. Yeah, we in Pax Academy, we create the transcript for them. So when they're ready to graduate, we'll create the transcript and move them out, move them on. All right. Any other questions? It looks like I've gotten through all the questions in the comments. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'm more than happy to help you guys with math. I taught Algebra 2 when I was a public school teacher. Past Algebra 2, you might need to hire another tutor. I never took calculus myself, and I've managed to be okay. But yeah, I'm more than happy to help, tutor them one-on-one, probably up through Algebra 2. Let me see. What's the best way to keep them engaged socially? And again, this is really unique to your child. So I know there are some kids that really, really, really love and want to be around other kids. There are a lot of great ways that you can do this. Probably the first and easiest way. I'm sorry.
Scott Harders would like to talk to Barbara Harders.
Sorry about that. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. So first and easiest way is to get connected with groups on Facebook. So when you are on Facebook, you can search for, like in my state, they'll have Maryland homeschoolers. They even have homeschoolers for my specific county. So just search on Facebook. I would look there's a radical unschooling group. That group has like tens of thousands of families in there. Post in there and be like, hey, are there any families that live in my state? And I guarantee you will find someone that lives in your state. So connect with other unschoolers that are in your state. That way, that's a great way to do it. Another way that I found to help them stay engaged socially is actually through sports. So unschoolers in a lot of states can actually participate in the sports in their local high schools. So if your kids are getting that age and they want to participate in high school sports, they can. Unfortunately, in Maryland, where I live, homeschoolers are not allowed to participate in public school sports. So we cannot do that, but we do play with like private nonprofit leagues. So I think it's like $100 for the season to play. I mean, it's very reasonable, and you can volunteer, and then it's, basically free. And so, yeah, getting them in sports, if that's something that they're interested, that helps too. Another thing that I found too is like what we envision as like social engagement is really different than what it looks like for kids nowadays. I know that's kind of hard to deal with, because I think for us, like when I think about social engagement, I think about like my kid playing at the park with their friends or something like that. But really for a lot of them, like it is engaging online with other people, and they really do build strong and connected relationships with other people online through texting or through gaming. Roblox, my kid talks with other friends that she's made on Roblox. So I mean, the way that your child wants to make friends may be different. So your kid might want to make friends with people in person at a park, or again, doing an activity that they really love or enjoy, or at church, or I mean, anywhere that you would be able to connect with other kids, you can do that. Also, don't discredit the friends that they're making, online or gaming or things like that. All right, Bobby asked, do you take the transcripts from K through 12 and then create a new program? So if they've attended school already, we can transfer in the credits they already have to Pax Academy. And so we can transfer what they already have, and then from there, we'll kind of make a plan going forward. So for example, the other day I was meeting with a girl, and she's super interested in marine biology. She loves that and wants to like pursue a career in marine biology. So if that's her thing, then we'll put marine biology on her transcript, and she'll give herself a grade. She gave herself an A because it's something that she loves and she's passionate about. And she's like, I'm going to give myself an A in marine biology. Awesome. And so she's doing an internship with this local like aquarium, and she's like feeding the dolphins. I mean, I don't know. She's doing like this crazy stuff that she really loves. And yeah, so she gets to give herself a grade for marine biology, and it's on her transcript, and she loves it, and it's great. So, you can do something similar. So look at the things that your kids are doing and then say, okay, how can I look for the learning that my kids are doing and the stuff that they're doing all day, every day, and when they're doing what they love. And then we add those, and we turn that life experience and the things that they love, we turn it into a credit, and we put it on their transcript, and then we give them a grade, and they move on. Can I share the podcast again? Yes. So the podcast that helped me is called the Exploring Unschooling podcast, and I'll type that in the chat. Exploring Unschooling podcast. And then my podcast is called the Peaceful World Schooling podcast. The Exploring Unschooling podcast is every Thursday. Mine was supposed to be every Tuesday, but my dad passed away last year. And since then, I've kind of been up and down with it, because it takes a lot of work for me to edit, an hour-long podcast. So, so mine is a little bit more inconsistent than hers, but I'm working on getting those out a little bit more often. All right.
I just wanted to give like a testimony,
yes,
for
please
these. I mean, I don't know if there's new homeschoolers or not. I'm just completing my second year. And because I was so like scared, I went through a curriculum and all this stuff, like a really rigid thing. And we keep going further and further away from that. But I want to give like a testimony to newer homeschoolers, because I was super worried about reading with my child. And I had a really strict, curriculum with reading, and they have the little booklets, and she had to do this every week and all this stuff. And we did it all, but she wasn't loving it. And then we went to, I was worried because I was like, oh my gosh, like I loved this at this point, but she wasn't feeling it. And then all of a sudden she went to like this homeschool day camp one day, and they were like, hey, what do you think of this book? And they showed her Anne of Avonlea. She's only 8, and she read this whole book like within 2 weeks.
Oh my
God. I was like, okay, well, I guess you are okay. So it's kind of like you don't realize like what your kid is, one, capable of, or two, like where they're at, until you see like they're really interested in something, and they'll be like, you see them just propel. And so that's kind of why I'm, trying to find out more about this, because I was so concerned coming out just from a private school and bringing her into homeschooling. I was so concerned about that. Am I meeting all these things? Like, am I, hurting my child? All these things, like, every parent is going to be worried about those things. But that was probably the number one thing I was like, okay, she knows, and the independence she has with her schooling, like what she wants to do and I've seen it in just the 2 years. I've seen her like take that initiative. And I think that's probably the best thing when we're talking about unschooling. It's not necessarily, it's them taking ownership of their own life, of what they want to do and what they want to learn and what they love. And that's, I think, the most beautiful thing I've seen. And I'm super excited to like explore this more.
Oh, Stacy, that's so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. And it's so true. I think for me, that was one of the biggest things that I saw the differences in teaching. It was like, I would go to school every day and I would see these kids that were just miserable. And I'm like, I remember this senior that's sitting in my algebra 2 class that's like, half asleep. I remember that kid was once a kindergartner that came running in the classroom every day, excited and passionate and asking why a million times and excited, curious, and was just hungry to learn and excited about everything. And then what happened? Like, what happened between kindergarten when we have this young, passionate child and the 12th grader that's sitting in front of me that's miserable and bored and apathetic and feels depressed and feels like a loser and a failure because they can't graph a quadratic function. And I'm like, who cares, right? Like, what happens in that gap? And I mean, Stacy, you just hit the nail on the head. Like, when they're doing what they love, they hold on to that and they preserve that natural love of learning that every kid has from the moment that they're born. And for me, I think that's one of the biggest blessings of unschooling and the biggest gifts that we can give our kids, to preserve that as long as possible. Sorry. I need to unplug that next time. I'm so sorry, guys. Hold on.
It's Dawn Ford for Barbara.
Sorry about that. Hold on. Okay. So this person says, when I spoke with you last, hold on. When I spoke with you last, Tennessee had some issues with the homeschooling and being able to attend Pax Academy, something about Pax Academy being in a different state. Who is the person I need to speak to about attending Pax Academy? Right now, we're in an umbrella in Tennessee and would love to register through Pax Academy. So yeah, like I said, there are some states that will be like, no. I know in Tennessee in particular, they're actually looking, they want to see schools that are like accredited. So even if they're, and actually, I'm really excited to say this too. We are actually in the process of getting accredited also. So yeah, we are hoping to be able to complete the whole accreditation process. So you'll be able to tell them that we are an accredited school, so Tennessee can leave you alone. But even if you are homeschooling through an umbrella in Tennessee, you can still register in Pax Academy. Like I said, it is a registered private school. So when you can present your transcript and diploma from Pax Academy to a college or to a university or to a job or a career or anything like that, and you'll be able to present that to them. So even if you are, legally considered a homeschooler in your state, like I said, some people consider like correspondence to still fall under their homeschooling statutes, or private schools to fall under their homeschooling statutes. So even in that case, you can still register in Pax Academy and still get a transcript and diploma from us too. Awesome. I'm so glad to see you guys connecting too in the chat. This is great. All right, I want to move this up. Are there science class resources? Yes, there are science class resources. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but they have these like science kits. Those are really cool. We actually, my mom gave that to my kids one year, and they really enjoyed that, being able to like get a science kit every month with like a random experiment. The other thing about science is like so much of science is just, again, it's all happening naturally, like being out. I know a lot of families like to like do gardening, or they're like hiking or spending a lot of time in nature, or again, going to the aquarium, or I mean, all of this stuff is science. So there's science is incorporated in everything. A lot of people also for science like to do movies or documentaries. So again, watching like Nat Geo on, on Disney Plus or something like that, you can watch YouTube videos about animals, or watch science experiments there and see if there's ask your kids, like literally ask them. The whole point is, we want them to be a part of the process, and we want them to really, as Stacy said, we want them to take ownership of their own education. So ask them if there's a science experiment that they want to do, have them do the research for it, have them, look in a book there. I mean, there are books that have have science experiments, or take them to a science museum, or, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do science. So it does, again, it doesn't have to look like a curriculum or sitting down at a desk doing a boring worksheet. In fact, I would argue it should never look like that. Learning can and should be fun. And yeah, so ask your kids what they like to do as far as science. Rosalind said the rigidity kills their drive. That is so true. It absolutely does. All right, Lori said we're in South Carolina, so I'm still learning all their statutes. Yep. And like I said, if you are in another state and you want to talk specifically about like your state's requirements, I'm more than happy to meet with you privately, and we can talk through that and kind of make a plan that is, again, unique and applicable for your state. Awesome. All right, we have like about 9 minutes left. Does anyone else have any other questions that they would like to ask me before we head off, or any other testimonies that you want to share? If you are a homeschooling or unschooling parent and want to share what your experience has been, I would love to hear, and I'm sure the rest of the group would also love to hear about how that's been for you.
I mean, I'll share again.
Yeah, go for it, Stacey.
Because I was really, my daughter is super social. She's super talkative, just wants to be out there all the time. So I'm constantly looking like, what can I put her in, all these things. I want to say, like, just look at homeschool day camps in your area. Like she was doing pottery class they had a homeschool group every Friday that would meet for 6 hours. And oh, she loved that so much. And the great thing about these homeschool day camps in your area is there's a range of ages, which is really nice. The younger ones are led by the older ones, and it's really nice to see that. There's also like these day camps where like they go and forage through the forest, and like there's so many, like we're in farm school right now. Okay. I think tomorrow's goats and horses or something. So there's a lot of things. I just want to say, like, just keep your options open on all of it. We've done a lot of it, like sewing classes, like there's a lot. Okay. So just keep your mind open. And
yeah, I saw someone commented earlier also Outschool. If you're not familiar with Outschool, that is a great way to like have your kid just explore through Outschool. I mean, they literally have math classes through Minecraft. Like any class you could possibly imagine, like there's a class for your kid. And yeah, so I would check out Outschool, ask your kid to look through there and see if there's a class on there that interests them. My daughter took a coding class through there. And actually she didn't really like it because she was kind of more advanced than the class at the time. So you can, again, have them look through the class list there and see what they like. I saw someone else, yeah.
Somebody wrote a question that I would like for you to get to. It says, how can we contact you to have a consultation before joining Pax Academy? Thank you, C.
Awesome. Okay, yes. So I have 2 different ways that you can contact me. If you would like a full educational consultation, I'll put that link in the bio here. So that would be for a full consultation. It's a 45-minute consultation. Then that leaves me with a couple extra minutes to be able to, take notes and things like that. Or if you like, I also have a free 15-minute call. If you just have like a quick question and you want to talk to me briefly, you can sign up for a free call. And I'll put the link for that as well. So both of those links are in the chat. Again, the free 15-minute call, or you could do the full, full consultation as well. Yes. All right. I see someone also said, does PAX have regular meetings or check-ins? So the whole idea of PAX Academy is I really want to be able to provide you with the freedom to have as much or as little support as you need. So if you're like, I just need my enrollment papers and let me do my thing, awesome, you can do that. You don't ever have to talk to me again if you don't want to. But if you're on the flip side that you're like, I'm just starting this, I need some help, then absolutely you can do that too. I've been thinking about doing like maybe a monthly or weekly, but again, this is all like, it's all really being created by us. So if you're like, I need weekly support, talk to me and I'll see if there's interest for other people, and maybe we could do that. We could set that up. If you want to just do like a monthly consultation, we could do that too. So I really want to be able to support you with as much or as little support as you need, so that you can, again, you're creating a new life, not only for your child, but also for you too. And I have found that with unschooling, the majority of the learning that happens is not the learning that our kids need to do, but it really is the learning that we need to do. That was really hard for me because I was a teacher. I had to unlearn so much of what I thought about what learning is supposed to look like, what learning is most important. That was a really hard thing for me to really get to the point that I can say that the learning that my child is doing on Roblox is just as valuable as the learning that she's doing, learning how to play the piano, right? Like that I can value these academic subjects just as much as the learning that she's doing while playing outside with her friends. Like they're both equally important. It's not like one is more important than the other. So, yeah, so I find that the majority of the learning is the learning that we need to do. And so I'm working on designing an unschooling 101 course specifically for us as parents that can help us really kind of confront our own biases and fears and walk through the 7 different, I call them the 7 different shifts, but they're the 7 different shifts that I went through as a parent. For example, the first one was, shifting from viewing myself as the teacher of my child to starting to view myself as the student of my child. I would say that's probably the first shift that every parent needs to do, is really get that idea out of my head. I am not the teacher of my child. I am the student of my child. I'm going to learn as much as I can about this unique human being that God has given me. And I'm going to, learn what they love, what they're good at, what their strengths are, what they're passionate about, what their skills are, all this stuff. And I'm going to be their best cheerleader and resource provider and provide them with all the resources that they need to be able to pursue the things that they love with the people that love them most. And so, yeah, so that's the first shift. And then there's 6 others, but we'll talk about that later. And actually all 7 of those shifts are in my free ebook. If you haven't gotten that yet, it's on my TikTok bio. It's called I have an ebook. It's called The Wonderful World of Peaceful World Schooling. And all of those are in there. You can download that ebook for free. How can we, hold on, let me see. I'd love to be a part of an unschooler group. Yes. Yeah, there are a lot of unschooling groups on Facebook already. But I'm really excited to create like another group of unschooling mamas that we can actually meet together like this and talk, because I feel like it makes such a difference to be able to hear where everyone's at and kind of answer these questions as, stuff comes up over time. And so, yeah, that's why I wanted to do this. So every month I'm going to be doing a free Q&A like this, where we can kind of get together and talk and share about our experiences and how our kids are learning and growing and how we are learning and growing. And I am so thankful for each of you that have come out tonight and have invested an hour of your time with me. I do not take that lightly. I know there are so many other places that you could be, and one of the most important places that you could be is with your children. And so I appreciate you sharing an hour of your life with me. I hope that you have found that this time has been valuable, a valuable investment of your time. And yeah, and so I'm going to send out an email after this, but unfortunately, I just got a strike on my YouTube channel. Yeah, I got a strike on my YouTube channel, so I'm not allowed to post anything on YouTube for a week because I posted a thing about vaccines, and so I'm not allowed to post on there for a week. So I'm going to send out the video of this in a week. I normally send it like right after, like tomorrow after I upload the video on YouTube, but unfortunately I cannot do that. So be on the lookout for like a follow-up email a week from now. And it will have like the links to my podcast. I believe I'll try to see if I can remember to put in the link for the free ebook so you can download that too. The link for Pax Academy are there, for the HSLDA, all the resources and stuff that we had talked about. They'll be in the email over there for you too. All right. Yay. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm so excited for you and your families. Thank you so much for being willing to go against the grain and to invest this precious time in your children. They say the days are long, but the years are short, and it's so true. It goes by so quickly. And yeah, you will not regret for a minute spending more time with your babies, and they're not going to regret it either. So yeah. All right. Thank you guys. Again, if you want a one-on-one consultation, feel free to sign up. I would love to talk with you one-on-one and get to know you and your kids, and be able to create something really amazing with you guys. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you guys so much. It's so great to see you guys.
Thank you so much. So great to meet you.
It was so great to meet you too, Rhonda. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye, Crystal. So
Hi,
great to see you
everyone. Hi,
again.
Crystal.
Bye, guys. Bye, Guadalupe.